Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine on Wednesday night. Great show tonight. We're talking all about metro schools. And yes, metro schools are out because of the snow right now. But we are happy to have with us someone who knows all about the decision that goes into when schools close and when they stay open. Fred Carr, Chief Operating Officer, is here. And thank you, Fred, for being here.
Glad to be here.
You are the person, essentially, that makes this decision, when to close schools. Is that right?
There is a team of us that analyzes it, but I get to flip the switch and make the decision.
So that's major. I would think your kids would try and influence you all the time.
No, it's the teachers that try to influence me all the time. That's where we get that. Yeah.
So you're part of the snow patrol team for metro schools, and tonight we can talk about anything. I mean, there's a lot of news as far as charter schools and an audit that came out, but I know on a lot of people's minds is just how that process works and what Metro has done. We obviously had a lot of bad weather, but you decided to close for the whole week, essentially
Right.
On Tuesday. Just say close for the week. Why close for the whole week on Tuesday?
That was actually in response to parents. So we had a number of parents contact our principals and say, look, if you all think you're going to close the rest of the week, can you let us know now so that we can make some plans? And I looked at the temperatures for tomorrow morning and Friday morning and said, there is no way that we can have kids standing out on the street. Our buses have been parked for a week. The air brakes are frozen. So it was just so that parents could plan, and that was at their request, that if it looks like you're going to close, go ahead and tell us now. So we went ahead and told everybody there's just no way we can open this week.
So now, even looking ahead, I know there are people that are even thinking about Monday. It's too soon, but you're looking at the forecast. What's on your mind for Monday?
Hopefully this weekend it will get into the high 40s, and a lot of this will go away. It's supposed to rain Saturday and Sunday, so that will wash a lot of this away. Again, a wintry mix for Monday. We'll wait and see Sunday, but we really try to go to school if we can, but safety and safety on our school buses is kind of the consideration, the prime consideration.
And there have been many times over the past few years where people will say, boy, my street was just fine. Why in the world were schools closed? So when you're out there looking, are there certain areas where you're more focused, or for those times when it seemed like it was just fine on the street out in front of your house, what was going into that decision?
There are 8 of us that on a usual situation, we'll get out about 3 o'clock in the morning and drive around and look at road conditions. And several years ago, we started a new process, which really was by accident, but it's produced amazing results. So several years ago, we took pictures, and it was basically to show Dr. Register, look, this is why we can't open tomorrow. Here's what the roads look like. And we sent the pictures over to our webmaster, who posted them on the web. So people started looking at the pictures, and they could see what we saw out there and said, oh, okay, I get it. I see why you can't open school now. And since then, we've been posting those pictures every time. So when we go out and run the streets, we'll shoot pictures and send them in and put them on our website, and it has really reduced a lot of questions about why did you close, because people can see what we saw that morning when we were out there. And so that's a practice that we've implemented and we do all the time now.
And as you or the 8 of you are going out at 3 a.m. on the morning you're going to make these decisions, are there certain areas? I mean, I understand that the Jolton area is a hilly area, and there's some roads there that it's very difficult for buses. Are there certain hills that you go to or areas that you go to and say, okay, we got to check this out?
Each of the 8 of us have a different part of town, and so we cover all parts of town. I remember 2 years ago we had snow in Antioch and had nothing in Jolton. So it depends on the way the front is coming in. So we have 8 designated areas. I run the Overton area, Creve Hall, Franklin Pike area down in there, under I-65. So we have places that we know that stay shady and stay icy, and we check those out first.
And what does this mean for the rest of the year as far as snow days? Have we used our allotment? And so are we okay if we have no more snow days, we don't have to add days on, or where do we stand?
We have used up all of our days, so hopefully springtime is around the corner.
And if you have to do more snow days, what happens then?
We actually have, when we developed the calendar this last time, we actually built days in, and it's on the calendar that says this is a potential makeup day. President's Day was one of those. We're already past it now. But we've already identified which of those days, intercession would be the next set of days that we would use if we have to. So those are already built into the calendar. They're already published out on the web. We just need to decide if we have to use some more, which of those we're going to pick.
And how difficult a decision. When I was a kid, you were the person I wanted to talk to. When I was a kid, I would have tried to go out in front of your house and maybe dump ice out there or something. I mean, I would want to influence you. How difficult a decision is this on a regular basis for you? Is it a headache, or is it a joy, or what would you say?
It's extremely difficult because closing schools has such an impact on not just the families of kids in schools, but the whole economy of the town, because people have to stay home and take care of their kids. It's unplanned. The really difficult ones are where the weather comes in 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Our buses start running at 5:30 a.m. And it's those last minute calls that are really the difficult ones. If we get out at 3 a.m. and there's, the roads are terrible, that's pretty easy. But it's when it just starts snowing at 4:30 a.m., that's when things get really hard.
And how influenced are you by the forecast? Because sometimes there'll be a forecast for snow and it won't happen. But maybe schools do close, or maybe Metro is the only school that hasn't closed when every school around us has, and I'm sure you get flack for that, and then it either snows or it doesn't snow. But how influenced are you by a forecast?
We look very carefully, and we also get multiple forecasts, and we have our own subscription weather service that we can call up our own meteorologist. This time, everybody agreed it was going to be a mess, and so that was pretty easy. I like to see snow before I make the call, because predicting precipitation for Middle Tennessee is tricky business. But the temperatures for tomorrow and for Friday, that was really clear. We knew what that was going to be, so that was a for certain.
And how much do you check with other districts? Because that's the other thing I hear. Every other county was closed, and why aren't we? And I'm sure people in other counties feel the same way. But how much do you take that into account at all? Every county around us is out. Do you talk to other superintendents or people making those decisions, or what about that?
We do. We have a network of the transportation directors, because that's the real key, are the school buses. So we have a network of transportation directors. We actually meet in November of every year in East Nashville, all of the surrounding counties, to get our plans together. And we do talk to other counties about the situation. We make sure our communications are clear. We do talk to them. Ultimately, everybody is responsible for their own. There's some real differences between Metro Nashville and some of the surrounding counties. Some of the surrounding counties have very long rural bus routes, and many of our bus routes are much shorter distance. We can fill up a bus in a much shorter route than some of the surrounding counties. But when you get in some of our outlying areas, Goodlettsville, Joelton, for example, then we also have some pretty long routes up there. So we have a real mix in Metro Davidson County, because it is a metropolitan area.
And is there a temperature at which you would close? Let's say there's no precipitation, but it's going to be brutally cold. So is there, if you see that it's going to be 5 degrees one day, is there a threshold, like if it gets below X degrees, we're going to close?
We don't have an exact number. What we're looking at the next 2 days was wind chill factor. We're talking wind chill factors of down to minus 15. And Nashvillians, our employees and our students are just not prepared for that. It's kind of a hardware software situation. So with hardware, we're concerned about buildings and buses, and software we're concerned about people, employees, and our kids. And so we'd have to take all of that into consideration.
Because the buses, that was the problem earlier this year. It was cold, it wasn't the snow, but the buses, it was the equipment.
It was the air brakes. Our buses are equipped with air brakes, and they get moisture in them. We have dryers on our buses, but we're not fully equipped for cold weather like school buses in Minnesota are, because we just don't deal with it that much. So what happened on that morning, and that was a late call that morning, we started getting service calls, and we had extra service trucks out. When I hit 50 buses that couldn't get their air brakes released, that's when I said, we cut it. And we had drivers come in early that morning because we anticipated we would have some issues. We didn't anticipate we would have as many. And I thought, if I've got 50 buses out of our 550, that's going to be 50 bus routes that are going to be late, and those kids are standing out. And that's not a good thing.
You said that was a late call, and I remember other counties had closed, but you say you go out at 3 a.m. generally. That's when you get up?
Right.
When would you like to have a call? What is a standard call? The time you want to know? And usually, if you haven't heard, if you're a kid out there or a teacher, you haven't heard by that time, you're probably going. What time is your standard time?
Ideally, we would like to do it by the 6 o'clock news the night before. That gives people time to plan. Our latest is 5 a.m., and I just hate to make one that late. So we really like to try to have it so that when people wake up, it's on the news. You guys have it out there. You have it scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and people know what to expect.
It's a fascinating topic. So we're going to take a break, but if you want to call in, ask a question. Of course, we'll talk about other stuff as well. If you want to ask about school closings and how that all works, there's the number, 737+, 737-7587. We will take a break and be back right after this.